Hi. So here in this set we have in our coaching class some students register online and some others register offline. No student registers both online as well as for offline class. Okay. So a student will either register only for an online or only for an offline class. Hence the total number of registration is the sum of online and offline registrations. Very simple logic. There are people with only online registrations and there are people with only offline registrations. So the total number of people will be the sum of the two. Now the following facts and table pertain to these registration numbers for the 5 months starting from January till May of 2023. Now the table also shows the minimum and the maximum and the median registration numbers of these 5 months separately for online and offline and the total number of registrations. So for example, for online you have 5 months, and out of these 5 months the minimum number of registrations in a month is 40, the maximum number of registrations in a month is 100, and of all the 5 different months the median number of registrations is 80. Now we know median is the middle value. So when you arrange all the enrollments in online class in an ascending or a descending order, the middle value will be 80. Similarly, of all the 5 months for offline class registrations, the minimum number of registrations would be 30 for a particular month and maximum would be 80 for a particular month. And when all these numbers for 5 months are arranged in ascending or descending order, the middle value will be 50, and same is the case for total number of registrations as well. Okay. Now it's given that in every month both online and offline registration numbers were multiples of 10. Cool. So this effectively means that for online registrations the minimum is 40, the maximum is 100, and all the values in between should be multiples of 10. That means for online registrations the number of registrations in a particular month will be either 40 or 50 or 60 or 70 or 80 or 90 or 100. Only one of these values. Same will be the case for offline. For offline, the number of registrations in a particular month will be either 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 or 80. Cool. Now in January, the number of offline registrations was twice that of online registrations. Okay. So let's draw a table for online offline registrations and for the 5 months that we have, and we'll calculate the total. Now we know for online the minimum is 40, the maximum is 100 and the median is 80. Same is the case for offline, the minimum is 30, maximum is 80 and the median is 50. And for total the minimum is 110, maximum is 130 and the median is 120. Now think about it. For online registration, the median is 80, the minimum is 40 and the maximum is 100, and there have to be total 5 values. Out of 5 values, one will be the minimum value, one will be the maximum value, and one will be the median value, right? That means there have to be 2 more values such that 80 is the middle of all the 5 values. Total 5 numbers have to be there, right? Such that 80 is the middle value. So if 80 is the middle value, that means there must be 2 values to its left and 2 values to its right. Okay? Out of 2 values to its left, one is 40. So that means there has to be one more value between 40 and 80, both including, and there has to be one value between 80 and 100, both inclusive. And same logic applies for offline and total as well. For offline for offline classes, there has to be one more value of number of registrations between 30 and 50, both included, and one more value between 50 and 80 included. Similarly, for total, there has to be one more value between 110 and 120 included, and between 120 and 130 both included. Fine. So looking at this next statement, in January the number of offline registrations was twice that of online registrations. Okay. Number of offline registrations in January is twice that of online. So if this is X, this would have been 2X. Right. That means the total number of registrations must be 3x. Cool. So this basically tells us that the total number of registrations should be a multiple of 3x. And we also know that the total number of registrations is 110, 120 or 130. Since the number of students registering for online and offline has to be a multiple of 10, so the total number of students will also be a multiple of 10 only. So the total number of students has to be between 110 and 130. So the only multiples of 10 between these two values are 110, 120 and 130 only, right? So whatever the values that you get, the 5 values that you will have here will be either 110 or 120 or 130. Only one of these 3 values. And from these 3 values we want a multiple of 3 here. And out of these 3 values, the only multiple of 3 here is 120. Hence 3x should be 120. Okay. Now if 3x is 120, what is the value of x? X will come out to be 120 by 3, that is 40. So this should be 40. This is double of 40, 80. So this comes out to be 120. Okay. Next, in April, the number of online registrations, was twice that of offline registrations. Again, the same case with reversed online offline. So online now is double that of offline. So if this is y, this must be 2y and the total must be 3y, and the only multiple of 3 here is 120. So 3y should be 120, hence y is 40. This is 40 and this is 80. Okay, cool, fine. Next is in April we are done. The number of online registrations in March, okay, online registrations in March, that means this number was same as the number of offline registrations in February. Offline in February is this, okay. So if this number is, let's say, A, this number will also be A, okay. And the number of online registrations were the largest in May. Okay, so online registrations were largest in May, and the largest number of online registrations that we can have is 100. So in May there should be 100 registrations, okay. And now if this is largest 100, what are the possible values of total number of registrations? It's either 110, 120 or 130. So can it be 110 over here? If this is 110, this value would have to be 10, which is not possible. So 110 is not possible. Similarly, 20 is not possible, else this must be 20. Hence, but that's not possible. The minimum number of students registering in offline is 30. So this value has to be minimum 30. So 100 plus 30 will give you the maximum number of total registrations, which is 130. So this has to be 30, this has to be 130 as per the information given. And now we are remaining with just this last point, that the number of online registrations in March is same as number of offline registrations in February. Okay. And we know minimum number of registrations is 110. So one of these two values has to be 110. So we'll come to it later. Let's first figure out what are the possible values that can come in these two positions, right? So we wanted a minimum 30 for offline, we got that. We wanted a maximum 80, so we have got 30 and 80 we have got. We want a median of 50, so we don't have a median of 50. Okay, so one of the values in these two blanks must be definitely 50. We want a median of 50. Okay, then we have a value of 40, which is between 30 and 50, right? So this is also done. That means and we knew there are going to be two values less than 50 and two values greater than 50, because 50 is the median. So the two values less than 50 are 30 and 40. So we want two values greater than 50 as well. So 50 as well. So one value is already 80 done. There has to be one more value between 50 and 80, both included. So one of these two blanks must be 50 and other blank can be either 50 or 60 or 70 or 80. So the values that can come in these two blocks is either 50, 60, 70 or 80. Right? So the value of A can be either 50, 60, 70 or 80. So one of the values that will come here is either 50, 60, 70 or 80. Right? Now here if we check, we have got the minimum value of 40, we have got the maximum value of 100 and we have got the median value of 80. Now we know there have to be two values less than 80. So one is 40, we want one more of it, and two values greater than or equal to 80. One of them is 100 and the other can be 80 or more than 80. Now if A is either 50, 60, 70 or 80, so these values are between 40 and 80. So we definitely will get a value between 40 and 80 from one of these values. A here is definitely between 40 and 80. That means this value here has to be definitely between 80 and 100, both inclusive, right? And now if this value has to be definitely between 80 and 100, what can this value be? This value can be either 80 or 90 or 100. So now if you see a value of 80, 90 or 100, are these possible? Let's see. Let's start with 100. A value of 100, is it possible here? If you have 100 here and the minimum value in this block will be 50. So 100 plus 50 is going to be 150. 150 sum is not possible, and more than 150 is not possible. So 100 can definitely not come over here, right? If you have a 90 over here, and even if you take the minimum value of 50, 90 plus 50 is going to be 140 and the maximum sum total is 130. So even 90 is not possible. So the only possible value here is 80. The only value here that we get is 80. And if this is 80, what is the possible value of A over here? The only possible value of A is 50, because 80 plus 50 will give you 130. So A definitely must be 50. 80 plus 60 will give you 140, which is not possible. A sum of more than 130 is not possible. So if 80 is there, the only possible way here is 50. That means A is 50. So if A is 50, what effectively we get is A is 50. This becomes 80. So 80 plus 50 becomes 130. And what is the possible value here? Now you see, we have 120, we have 130. So far we don't have an 110. So this definitely has to be 110, and for this to be 110, this has to be 60. We had got 50, right? We have 50 here. We want 110 here. So the only possible way is to have a 60 over here, right? So this completes the table for us. Let us look at the questions now. First question is, what is the total number of registrations in April? So in April, the total number of registrations is 120. What was the number of online registrations in January? Second question. In January, online number of registrations is 40. Next question, which of the following statements can be true? The question is not must be true, it is can be true. Let's see. The number of offline registrations was the smallest in May. Okay, now the offline number of registrations is actually smallest in May. Hence, this statement is true. Next, the total number of registrations was the smallest in February. Total registrations in February is not smallest, it's actually the highest. So this is false. So out of these two, only one is true. So the question is, which of the following statements can be true? So only first is true. Option B is the right answer here. Next question, what can be concluded about the number of offline registrations in February? So offline registrations in February is 50. Option A is the right answer. Next question, which pair of months definitely had the same total number of registrations? So which pair of months has the same? Is it January, February, or is it February, May? Let's look at January and April, January, April. So January and April, this set of months, this pair of months has the same number of total registrations. So this is correct. Next, let's look at February and May. So we have February and then you have May. Even this set of month or this pair of month has the same number of registrations, which is 130. So this is also correct. Hence the answer to this question will be both 1 and 2. Both these pair of months have the same total number of registrations. So that's it for this set. Thank you.